Welcome, I'm Charles Brock. When I first started woodworking, I was a flatboarder, but then I saw the beautiful work of Sam Maloof, and it inspired me to become a sculptured furniture maker. Let's go! Now we're going to make the front legs. The front leg needs to be 19.5 inches long, and it's going to be 2 13/16 wide. Well, we planned for a 2 3/4 inch wide leg here. We made a notch that was 1 3/4 of an inch, and then we put a 1/2 inch rabbet on each side of the notch, and so that should give us 2 3/4. So why are we making it a 1/16 wider than we need? Well, the answer to that is so we can take one side to the joiner, or one edge to the joiner, and we can joint that side until it fits between the shoulders on the rabbeted notch here. So let's start with that after we decide which is going to be the right and which is going to be the left. Well, if you think about it and you're sitting in the chair, this is going to be the right side of the chair, and this is going to be the left. So this is going to be the right front leg, and this is going to be the left front leg. It's important to keep that in mind throughout the entire build. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this the right front leg, and this is going to be the outside, and this is going to be the inside of the front leg. And if you have something you want to hide, let's say maybe the sapwood or a knot or some sort of blemish, then as long as you know where your finished leg is going to be, then you can hide it. And on the inside of the leg, as you can see, there's some material that's going to be cut away. So keep all those things in mind as you pick your stock and you put it in a particular place. It's all very important. This is going to be the left leg, and this is going to be the outside. There's a little crack right here, and so I put it going down the lower part of the left leg on the outside, because this leg is going to be turned and we'll lose that. And then I had a little roughness back here, but let me tell you about this, about the thickness. So to keep that within its limits, I made this the inside of the front leg, and we will have this at the top. It's going to be turned away anyway. We just got to have enough thickness here that it doesn't rock when you're doing the joinery, or you'll never be able to get the joinery nice and square. But all of this right in here is going to go away. This is how you custom fit the leg to the rabbeted notch. Remember, we've got an extra 1/16 over here that we can take off to get it to pop between these shoulders right here. So This side has not been jointed, not been run across the joiner. This side has. So we're going to go run this across the joiner until it pops right in between those shoulders. Okay, now we're ready to lay out the dados on 3 sides of this leg. So we're going to drop down 7 inches from the top, and on the inside of the leg, don't do it on the outside, make a mark. Use your square. You can set your knife right in the little mark that you made, which is a great thing when you're using cut lines like this. Then another great thing is you can pick up the kerf from your knife on the other side, come on around with it. Now on the front, this is the outside here, you don't want to make the line all the way across. Just want to go a little more than ½ an inch, so I'm doing that. If you go all the way across, you might start getting confused later on as to where you really need to cut. Now, I try to pull the knife. That's the correct way to do it. So I can lay the knife right in the kerf here, and I can pull it. And this is for the top of the dado. And again, we're around to the front again, or the outside. So I'm just going to put a little short line right there, because we're only going to go like ½ an inch. And now, the information I need is, what is the thickness of the tenon that's going to fit the dado here? Well, a way to find out is by using some fractional calipers. Let me get mine. And we're going to go to the seat itself, and we're going to get the size of that tenon with the fractional calipers and use that to lay out our dado. Now let's get the thickness of this tenon. Right here in the middle, all right, that's how thick it is right there. It looks like it's about 3/4 of an inch. I don't care about the number so much as getting everything else right. Well, let's see. I want to get the caliper set just right. It's a little thicker on the end grain part of the rabbet than it is with the face grain right in here. The router has to work a little harder right here to make that cut. So it usually ends up being a little thicker. So that's where we really want to take our measurement as compared to the middle where it's a little looser. So now we'll take this measurement to the dado itself, and we'll finish laying it out. Now I can use the legs on the caliper. This is an outside measurement here, and this is an inside measurement. I'm going to use the inside measurement there and let that leg slide right into the cut line. And then I'm going to put that leg down, and my knife is going to make a little slice right there. I can set my knife in there, pull the square up. Now let's continue taking that around to the edges of the board. Make sure everything lines up. This is on the outside, so we're just going to go about ½ an inch there. Okay, that looks good. Now we're back around to the outside. Okay, so that you can see the lines when you go to the table saw, it'd be best if you take like a 5mm mechanical pencil, not a regular pencil, and it will fit right into the kerf that you've made with your knife, and you'll be able to get a little glare off of that, which will help you as you're cutting your joints at the table saw. It'll be a good thing. So that's what I've done right here. Now, I've done everything but lay out the depth of the cut, how deep the table saw is going to cut. So let's do that now. There are a couple of ways that you can lay this out without having to measure. Now, I'm using a marking gauge here, a wheel-type marking gauge, and I've got this set against the shoulder right here and the edge of the notch. And that will give me the depth. I want to be able to set the depth of cut right there. Now another way you can do it is like this. And look at that, it's exactly a 1/2 inch. Okay, I'm gonna mark it here, because the first dado is gonna be the one across the bottom. And then mark it on the front here. And that's why we didn't mark all the way across the face of the board. Now we're ready to take it to the table saw. This is going to be fun. Now we're going to start right here in the middle, and we're going to raise the blade until we hit the bottom of the line. Now I'm using a special cut blade. I think I explained that to you before when we were cutting the notches. Yes, the #1 grind Woodworker 2 by Forrest. It's got a flat grind on the edge so that it makes a flat bottom on the dado. All right, so we're going to start in the middle and we're going to work out toward the edges. Now let's see if the dado will take a little bite of the tenon. That's a good fit. All right, so now we're going to cut the dado across both edges of the board, and we're going to use a different method than I have in the past. This is called the Kim method. It came from a doctor whose first name was Kim, signed up for the class, and he had never done any woodworking before, but he said, hey, why don't you just clean out between the shoulders, flip it over, clean out between the shoulders, and then you'll know you'll have a perfect fit. Well, he was a smart guy. I've been doing that ever since. So let's get started. Now we have a little step on the shoulder on each side. To get rid of that, all we do is just line it up with the outside edge of the tooth here, and just sit it beside it, and it'll take it right away. Now I've got this exactly where I want it. I've got all three dados cut. The shoulders are smooth. And now we need to round over this part right here. So I'm going to set up the router table, and we'll use a 3/4 inch rounding over bit, and we'll check it and see if it fits. Now we want to round over just a little bit on each side, and this is on the inside of the leg. So from about here to about there, and there to there, we want to round this area over. Now, the way to do that is at a router table. So let me show you how we accomplish that. I've got a 3/4 inch radius router bit in here. It's by Whiteside, and the router bits I use are Whiteside router bits. And I've got it set up so that I can get the full 3/4 inch round over. I want to be able to get the whole thing. So I've got the blade at the edge of the blade at the same level as the table itself. And then I've got the fence set up so that I have negated or neutralized the pilot bearing. So I'm going to get the full round over. So let me show you how that's going to be done. I can take the leg itself, and this is where we want to round over, and I can place it down, and I can plunge in, push it along, and then pull it out. And that way I've just rounded over the area that I want to round over. So let's see how it works. All right, I've got a round over on this side and over here, which is what I wanted. But there's a little bit of a bead where the round over is not complete. And many times, all I need to do is take a sanding block and improve the round over a little bit on those places that have a bead on them. Well, let me do that over again because I started repeating myself. Yeah. All right, so we've got a nice round over, but we've always got a little bead that's left where it's not completely rounded over. I'll use a sanding block with some 80 grit stick-on paper, and I'll just kind of use it to improve that round over. And then we'll fit the joint, and I think it's going to be really nice. Let's see how it fits. Hopefully it's going to make me smile. Oh yeah, that's really good. And we can improve it even more by taking those little beads off of the round over. So I'm going to mark it here, and there's a bead there. And every place that it's kind of tight is where I want to work it, because then if I can relieve the tightness, then it'll pull it right on up. Now I want to work it above and below the dado. So here we go. Well, that's nice. Now a little bit right in here. Just trying to improve that round over. Yeah, that's good. Now we'll improve it across here. It's always best to mark either the high or the low spots, because it gives you something to work toward. And that's pretty good. And then right there. Now let's see if it fits better. Oh yeah, that's nice. The next thing to do is to find a center line and mark it all the way around, because it's eventually going to help us find a center so that we can do the turning of the upper and lower leg. So let's see if we can find that center line. And I like to use a marking gauge to do that. Let's see. I can mark it there and there. And right between those two places is going to be the center. So let me kind of move it up to that point. That's good. Yeah, there we go. We got a good center line. And we want to mark it all the way around. Okay. There we go. So now we can use our pattern, and we can sight through a little hole here. If you draw a hole in the middle and draw a center line on your pattern, then you can use it to find the center line that you just made at each end. I made a center line on my pattern and drilled a little sight hole right here so that I can line my pattern up with the center line that I just made. So, with everything lined up, I am going to draw off the leg. There's a catch, and the catch is that you want to come out early or pull out early, so that you won't get into the joint area that you've worked so hard to create right here. You don't want to mess it up. So as you bandsaw, just come out there, there, and there. Well, let's go to the bandsaw. We're going to do it now. Now, we need to make this little offset right here. And the way to do that is on the inside, I need to take off about 1/4 of an inch here. And so I'm going to mark that to take that off. And it's going to be cut at the bandsaw. So I'm going to mark along a line here, and then back here, I'm going to mark along a line. Then I'm going to make a line that you can see, and one that I can see good at the bandsaw. I'm going to come out early. Continuing to mark that 1/4 of an inch, and we're going to come out early. So now we'll take this to the bandsaw, and I'm going to mark the top of that too so you can see it. Let's see. There you go. And that's where we'll start the cut. Come down here, come out early, and then do the same thing here and come out early. All of that on the inside of the leg. You want to make sure that your cut comes out straight and even right here, and that you don't get into the joint itself. And so what I do, I can cut along following the lines, and then as I get real close to the joint area, I'm going to rock it up and use these flats as a place to finish the cut. And in that way, I'll get a straight line right here. All right, I've already taken off, as you saw, 1/4 of an inch on the inside of the leg. Now with what's left, I want to find the center of this so that we can set a center for turning. All right, so I've got that red line there that I've just highlighted, and that's the center line that we made all the way around. And so here, I'm going to use an X from each corner. And where it crosses right there, on that line, is where I want to set my center. Now, set a compass to a radius of 5/8 of an inch. And what I want to do is to make a circle all the way around here, using the center as the center of the circle. And that's going to give me something to work toward. I'm going to taper the leg down at the top and bottom to that 1 1/4 inch diameter circle. And now we'll go to the lathe and I'll show you how to do that. This is what we're working toward on the front leg. It's got a nice taper all the way down until it becomes 1 1/4 inch at the end. That's why we drew that circle. The other end is the same thing. It's just a shorter taper. Now, how do you do that? And how do you make it easy enough so that somebody who is not an accomplished turner can do it? Well, it's really pretty simple. So, let me show you. All right, to set up this taper, I want to use the tool rest to set the taper. And I'm going to use a gap here and a gap there. And if I can make that gap the same, then I have an opportunity to make a nice taper from one end to the other. Now I'm going to spin it to make sure that there's nothing in the way. And I've got it solid between the centers here. And I'm going to give it just a little more bite. And now, I think we're ready to go. Now, you should use a roughing gouge. I'm using one of the easy tools, which should make it a lot easier. Got it running at about 700 RPM. Now I'm going to use my finger as a fence, and I can use it to kind of as long as I've got my finger as a fence. Okay, you're going to have a little bit of a flat on the inside, a little bit of a flat on the outside. You can actually come up a little further if you'd like to. There's always a possibility that you can have a catch and bust these shoulders off. And when that happens, there's a lot of crying, a lot of unhappiness, and some people turn to drugs, some turn to alcohol. But let's try not to knock those off. You could take a marker, make some big black lines there, and you kind of know where and how far to stay away from that. We're going to do the same thing on the other end, and then we'll have a turned, tapered leg.
To finish up your front legs after turning, use your lathe to bore the 1/2 inch by 1 1/4 inch holes in each end of the leg to receive the dowels. These will be used to connect the leg to the arm and the rocker sleds. You have already used centers on each end of the leg for turning. Now, place a lathe chuck in your headstock end with a brad point bit installed. The bit will spin as you crank the tailstock quill forward into the bit. I start at 0 RPM and increase it to 350 RPM as I advance the leg to a piece of blue tape that I have placed at 1 1/4 inches on the bit. Retract and flip it over and repeat. There's your bored leg.
Remember earlier we put a center line all the way around here. I've highlighted it in red a little bit right there because now we need to find a place on that center line to drill for our screw hole. So this is very easy. Just take a ruler or some straight edge and draw a line that way and draw a line this way, and where they cross on that center line is where you're going to make a little hole with your awl, and then you'll know exactly where to drill. Let's do that now. Now we're going to take a drill it with a special bit, and we're going to leg this one up. There are some things in life that work together to make life better and easier. One of them is using a hand screw on the seat to get it to stand up when you're legging up. It's a real big help. And another one is a Miller doweling bit in your drill. It's an XJ1 or an X1. It will work very, very well with a Spax number 10 3-inch screw. Let me show you. So we've got a hole here, and we're just going to drill straight in. It's always important to know how to blow on your project. And now I'm going to put that screw in. That's good. All right. Now, we'll be taking it apart and putting it back together numerous times, but that's all you got to do to leg up. Then you want to do some marking. Let me show you how. Now, you want to mark at the seat level on the leg. You want to mark the joint. Now, this is going to come in handy when you start sculpting, which is just a ways away, but you want to mark above and below the joint. Well, this little red line right here is extremely important, and I'm going to put one back here too. The reason is it's going to be replaced by a 3/8 inch radius when we sculpt the leg to seat joint. So make sure you mark that too. Mark all the way around. That's a big hint.